I'm floored also by this concept of like the level of like value that you have for efficiency, which is fine. Okay, so then I will have to ask you, name your top 10 small forwards. Then
my top 10 small forwards. KD is he efficient? Larry Bird, was he efficient? Is LeBron James efficient?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. All right, and while I name these names, let's seriously compare it to Allen Iverson's efficiency. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James.
But we've already established those three. Okay. All right.
Dr. J.
Okay.
Kevin Durant.
Okay.
Rick Barry.
Okay.
Elgin Baylor.
Okay.
John Havlicek.
Okay.
Dominique Wilkins.
Okay.
Scottie Pippen.
Okay.
Adrian Dantley.
Okay.
Adrian Dantley's the definition of efficient.
So if those those are your five.
Billy
Cunningham. Why is
Kawhi Leonard?
Why is Dwight? Well, not Dwight. Why is Dominique higher than Dantley?
Because Dominique was I value his athleticism. I think he was much better defender.
Okay, do you not value athleticism? Like what?
This is what Lowe always does. He asks you to give you your totality of how you value a player, and then he says, "Oh, you value this. Why don't you value that?" I just told you.
I'm trying to.
You said, on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the ball, I consider Dominique.
Dominique was far from a defender. Also, Dominique was inefficient in contrast to his era. He was at the end of his career. His true shooting is below league average. So
at the end of his
for the totality of his career average is lower than league average.
Okay, well, compare his efficiency to Allen Iverson.
There's several years where he's below league average. So I'll ask the question again: why is it that you have a player who's below league average in efficiency higher than someone else? Why?
Because I value his athleticism and what that could translate at the 3 position compared to Adrian Dantley. I obviously have them ranked very closely because they're one after another. So there's not a one.
Why is he above Kawhi?
Because if you missed the beginning, though, I value about 20% the best year, 20% the top 3 years, 20% the top 7 years, 20% your whole career, and 20% my eye test, my personal evaluation, and intangibles that can't be measured. And so I think Kawhi would be a better player if Kawhi had a healthy, long enough career, which he did not. That's why I have Kawhi ranked lower.
That's
so
fair.
How many years of Dominique Wilkins are you even assessing? Because it's not like Dominique Wilkins has like
I assess everybody all their career.
I know, but when it comes to Dominique Wilkins, it'd be one thing if you get like 15 straight years of just like high level play. Dominique probably has like what, like 8 to 10, maybe.
Yeah, and so if you do the math, 60% of my evaluation is within the top 7 years. The top year, the top 3 years, the top 7 years. You just said 8.
If the top year, if the top year is Kawhi, the top 3 years is Kawhi, I would assume that eye test would also be Kawhi as well, correct?
The eye test is as far as pure talent and potential, yes.
Okay, so if that's already 60%,
Len Bias was a good basketball player too. Too bad he fucking died of cocaine before he could play.
I just named 60% of what you just referenced, though. You see what I'm saying?
You just said he had 8 great years.
No, listen to what I'm saying. The top year, you said the top year is 20%. That would go to Kawhi. The top 3 years would also go to Kawhi. The eye test would also go to Kawhi. By your own standard, 60%.
No, and the intangibles are, I believe, Kawhi has had a much better situation in his career than Dominique Wilkins did.
Well, so did Allen Iverson. Iverson didn't have as good of a situation as a lot of other players, but you didn't give a fuck about that.
No, once again, I think that is double talk by people who want to hype AI because, like I said, one of the only situations where we would have seen AI have success is on that purely defensive team that lets him score 30 points a game.
Do you think Iverson had a favorable situation in contrast to other shooting guards?
For what Allen, for being a 6 foot tall shooting guard, yes. Having a purely defensive team that lets you be the jack up 27 shots. Because otherwise, there aren't many other situations where you play a 6 foot tall shooting guard that shoots 27 shots.
This entire time you've been harping on efficiency, and then you have someone who's below league average.
Yeah, crazy me harping on how often the ball goes through the hoop.
And that's
it's actually a pretty big part of basketball.
And I'm not, and I'm fine with that. But then don't put somebody who's below league average in efficiency in your top 10 or another position. That doesn't.
Why don't you compare their relative efficiency? Like I said, if
we can compare relative efficiency.
There are many situations.
Adrian Dantley has a higher efficiency. Adrian Dantley has a higher efficiency. Kawhi Leonard has a higher efficiency. There's several players relative to their efficiency that has higher efficiencies than Dominique Wilkins. But for whatever reason, you still put Dominique Wilkins in your top 10. That doesn't make any sense.
Because both AI and Adrian Dantley were very poor defenders, which is half of basketball.
Dominic Wilkins was a poor defender.
He was not a poor defender.
Oh, even by his own, even he would say he's a poor defender. Anybody who watched him would say he's a poor defender.
Okay, go get him to tell me he's a poor defender.
I have people in Atlanta who lived here who watched him way more, unless you live in Atlanta, who watched him way more than you did.
Atlanta card.
He's a poor defender.
Atlanta card.
I don't. But even still, Kawhi is a great defender, and you still have him lower.
Because so he's played 600 games.
Yeah, the health
career.
A good portion of his reasoning is his career too, and his like.
But he just broke down his assessment. If 20% of it goes to
Low doesn't listen. Low.
Pirate.
I'll say what you just
repeat. I want to hear Pirate. I want to hear Pirate.
Explain the 20% thing again. Explain it again.
Kawhi is a great player who did not play very often and had very advantageous situations in his career.
I ask you the question again. Say what you said about how you broke down your assessment.
What was the 20% at your best and then 20%? Like I remember it was like a 5-year stretch, right?
Okay, if you remember, my very first caveat was I think that anybody who thinks they have an absolute criteria is full of hubris and pride and thinks that they can evaluate more than they can. Okay. Roughly, I believe my criteria is roughly your best year, so your absolute best, your best short-term stretch, roughly 3 years, your best bulk of career, roughly 7 years, 20% your career, so that's where I suppose you'd want to call it longevity would factor in.
Yep.
And then 20%
miscellaneous
intangibles, miscellaneous, my eye test, how I feel a player could translate on a multitude of teams, a multitude of eras, a multitude of systems.
So like by his criteria, I can understand because 60%, even his peak for the last 3 seasons has been spent with him being hurt. 7 years has been spent of him getting hurt. His career has been spent of him getting hurt. So I get what he's saying.
Even if you look at between 2016, 17, and 19.
That's not his peak.
I bet, but this is my point I'm making though. You can look at those 3 years and it's still better than Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah, but the fact that you have to skip a year to get a 3
but Pirate conceded to that. He said as a player, he will probably say like as a player for sure, Kawhi's a better player.
He's already. I don't know why we're arguing the 3 year stretch. He's already.
He also said as a talent, Allen Iverson is a top 10 shooting guard. So then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Oh, the point I'm making is that out of his own assessment, at bare minimum, 60% of it already is favoring Kawhi.
Low,
that's disingenuous.
With low, it does not matter. It does not matter how deeply you explain your assessment.
Okay,
he will tell you what your
assessment.
assessment.
The 1 year peak, so it's 1-0. Kawhi has the 3 year peak, so it's 2-0. Like that's not how it's the gap between them. If the 1 year peak isn't close, you give the advantage to Kawhi. Let's say it's 75-25. And then the 3 year peak gets a bit closer because Kawhi has a Hurts year in between it. So then it goes to 60-40. It's about the gap in between.
Mars,
them. Like,
if you want
you don't just say, offense goes to this.
Included in all that.
If
like, including all that is that Kawhi's teams were helped by very good situations.
If you want 3 straight years, you can go 19, 20, 21. That's 3 straight years.
With a postseason injury, so
and he was hurt for all of them. He was hurt for every single one of those seasons.
Yeah, even 21, you go 3 years, and then guess what? Kawhi gets hurt in the postseason.
In 2020, he played like 57 out of 65 games.
Yeah, Kawhi played in 2020, and then in 21, guess what? He tore his ACL in the second round. Another injury. He doesn't finish seasons, Lo.
And that's and there was a 6-month break. There was a 6-month break in the bubble. I mean, I don't want to bring that out there, but that counts for something.
There's no 3-year stretch you can give me other than 14 to 16 where Kawhi finished the season. You're not going to give me one. It doesn't exist.
Oh, so that's okay. So he has
that would matter. Yes, that would matter. Yes.
Okay. Let's be clear. Some of these years, Dominique's not making the playoffs anyway, so we can't even assess him on what he does in the postseason.
But it's all being assessed under the umbrella of what situation they got to play in as well. And so even Kawhi's peaks, he was able to play in very advantageous situations, more advantageous than Dominique Wilkins. So if we took 1,000 different teams,
this doesn't make any sense.
Why doesn't it make it?
Because
why do people have to not make sense?
Because Iverson wasn't in the most. Because Iverson was not in the most advantageous situation either.
No, and so Lo, one of the very first things I said was I think he could have been a great 20 and 10 point guard.
I don't know what that has to do with him being in the more advantageous situation.
He said Allen Iverson was misused. He said that.
He's not a 30-point a game shooting guard, which is what he tried to emulate for 13 years.
And so my point is that if that's the case,
if they put Kawhi Leonard at center for 13 years, I wouldn't think he was a very good NBA player. All right, Kawhi Leonard is not going to be a great center. But Allen Iverson was not a great shooting guard.
That's such a hyperbolic statement. Both of these players, in between Dominique and Kawhi, were in situations position-wise where, like, what are we doing? That's kind of a little overzealous. But fine, the argument is
you didn't say anything. You just said okay.
But if the argument is injuries, even still, you're going to list off a bunch of other players in contrast to Dominique Wilkins that have had longer careers that were, like, for example, why isn't Paul Pierce above Dominique Wilkins?
Because I believe Dominique Wilkins was a better talent, dude.
But that's only 20%, though. That's only 20%.
I believe that Dominique Wilkins was a better talent. Can I say it any clearer? I believe that if I had 1,000 teams to run, okay, if I could run a simulation, if I could pick 1,000 rosters,
who's more efficient?
I would rather put Dominique Wilkins at the 3 than Paul Pierce. Is that
more
simple
efficient?
enough?
Who's
Join way.